this up a little taller for tall people.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's probably the most unique introduction I've ever had. But it's been a long ride. I never thought, and it was actually 8th grade to make the 9th grade team. It's close. But I never thought whenever I was started snapping that it would lead to being able to have 10 years in the NFL. One thing that it has taught me is that hard work does pay off. I think that's the greatest thing about football in particular, of all sports. It's the best team game. It's the ultimate team game. Everybody loves football. They really should, at least. But, you know, growing up in Arkansas, I loved the Razorbacks. Still do. I wanted to always play for them. I never thought I had the chance until I started getting recruited by Houston Nutt. And it was amazing to me kind of how that whole process comes along is you start getting letters, you stuff in the mail, and I'm sure it's changed now, but you get all that stuff in the mail and you're like, man, this is cool, they actually want me, and so maybe I am good enough. And so I got up there, walked on, two weeks later, earned the starting punt job to snap. Didn't do field goals my first year, and then I had all of it the last 3 years. I still remember snapping over Skinner's head in the Texas game. That was out of my whole career, that's pretty much my one bad snap in a game. And it still haunts me because I want to be perfect, but I'm not. I think that's one thing that kind of drove me to strive for as close to perfection as I could in the pros. You know, it was an honor to be able to play for a wonderful organization, the Green Bay Packers. I know a lot of people around here either love the Packers or you really hate them because you're a Cowboys fan. And again, I'm sorry that we had to win a Super Bowl in your stadium. But, you know, Green Bay it's 100,000 people in the city limits. You know, the outside kind of makes up about 200, 300,000 people, but it's a lot like Arkansas. It's like having Arkansas, a lot of people want to throw Arkansas State in there, but it's the Razorback. And that's what drives, you know, this area and this state. And that's the way Green Bay is. And you see the people that are working hard every single day that want to go to games, they want to support you. You know, they come out in training camp. We had practices with 70,000 people for a practice. And you know, the guys, you don't want to practice. You know, nobody likes practicing, but you know that you need it. And that's the way that Arkansas fans are, because everybody loves this state. Everybody loves this program. And I know everybody's wanting this to be fixed right away, but it's a process. And you know, one of the things that I've learned through special teams is it's a lot harder than it looks. I don't think special teams coaches get the credit they deserve because you are taking athletes that pretty much have never played special teams because nobody wants to play special teams. It's like really nobody wants to be a snapper. They kind of fall into it and then you perfect it. And that's kind of the way special teams is. You have to want to play special teams and that desire because it's a third of the game and you're having to teach these guys in college and the pros for the first time to play special teams because you don't get reps. And then you get 10 minutes of practice usually because it's on the back end, nobody wants to practice special teams. So I think that we can fix this with our coaching staff, but like everybody else, I was talking to Bo earlier, you gotta have your starters playing special teams and they have to buy in. They have to buy into that program and that goes with the leadership of the program. You have to have people step up. You have to, you know, it's so hard. Coach Zook used to say when we were there, he's like, I got to get 2 hours worth of work in 10 minutes. And that's the way it is. You know, we had a 30-minute meeting. That's all we covered on special teams. Everything else is the onus on the players. And it's kind of the same way for college, but so many people underestimate like the snapper. You only hear about the snapper when they get, you know, they screw up. And my name was mentioned in Arkansas, a lot of people don't know me except the Texas game. Because I snapped it. I still remember his left hash 22-yard line. Threw it over his head into the end zone, and it was a high ball. I mean, Jacob's a big guy. He can jump, and he didn't even try to jump for it. I think he was back there still pointing up the sky, trying to figure out what the wind direction was. So, you know, things like that, they drive me, and that's, you know, as a kicker, you know that you have to be, you strive for perfection, knowing that you're not going to get there. Offense, defense gets first, second, third down. Special teams gets one down, and they have to be perfect. And that's hard to do. It's not impossible, obviously, because there's teams that do it. You look at the really good teams, and they have really good special teams. That's the way it is. It's a third of the game. And that's one thing that I have enjoyed more, especially as I've gotten into the pros and being able to have the games where, you know, it's all exciting when you throw a Hail Mary and, you know, you get the touchdown, and it's exciting for the fans, but for me it was, you know, there's 3 seconds left and you gotta have a snap, 8 yards, and put the laces out so this holder doesn't have to turn it so we can have a chance to kick a field goal, and I got really good at that. And that was what drove me to want to strive for perfection. And I'm probably, right now I can still do it with my eyes closed because I'm still practicing, but I'm probably easily over 9 out of 10 every time I put the laces. Because I can tell each and every one of you where I want you to hold it. Because I'm gonna throw my ball, but I want you to catch it in a certain spot. Because we had punters come through and they wanted it the wrong way, and I was the old grumpy vet, and I was like, no, you're gonna do it my way. And it worked, but you know, I think the Arkansas program is awesome. I enjoyed my 4 years. I wouldn't have wanted to go anywhere else. Obviously, I'm a homer for the state, but I think that they can get it turned around. I think it's going to take time. I don't think it's, I mean, obviously it's going to take time. Everybody knows that, but it's one of those things where we had a losing season in Green Bay. Then the next year we had guys stepping up to be leaders. So, you know, I had 2 losing seasons in the NFL. You have to have guys step up. And that's what, from the outside looking in, I know the coaching and everything else, we have all this stuff going on, but we don't have a true leader that's kind of taking grab of this team. And that goes with a lot of the seniors, you know, and it's unfortunate because when you're losing, it's hard. It's hard to get up, it's hard to go to work. Everything is obviously easier when you're winning. But now they have to have people that step up and be able to come to work because you have to. You know, there are opportunities out there in the NFL for some of our players, but they're getting really looked at right now of how their attitude is, because that's what NFL scouts are looking at. They're saying, how are these guys responding to adversity? How are they coming to work? And then they're going to go ask Coach Morris and their staff, they're going to say, how were they at school? Did they go to class? And I promise you, that hurts so many players for not getting their chance. Everybody that gets in the NFL, you catch a little bit of a break. You know, there's a lot of good players out there, but it's the guys that literally show up to work every single day. I missed one day, it cost me $2,400. It was great. I was 10 minutes late. It was fun, but and they were worried about it because I was there every day at 6:30, but I missed the first meeting at 7:30. And the coaches called me, they were worried. And they were like, you okay? You sick? You getting a wreck? I was like, no, I overslept. And it's the first time I've ever overslept in my life, and I still don't oversleep. I don't know how it happened, but it cost me $2,400. You know, and that's one thing that you obviously can't do to college kids. You can't fine them. It'd be great if you could. It'd probably fine. University makes more money. But it's one of those things that you drive for perfection, and that's what the NFL does to these players is they weed them out. They weed out the ones that don't want to be there. You can't be a cancer to the team. You can't be a headache. They're not going to stick with you more than a couple of years if you're a problem in the locker room. And that's one thing that, you know, I'm great friends with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron's come down to Fort Smith before, and everybody thought he was Drew Brees. I don't know how that's possible. We're sitting at the casino, this guy's like, man, you look familiar. What do you do? Like Drew Brees? And they talked about Sean Connery, who was the best Bond guy for 45 minutes before he finally realized that Aaron was on State Farm commercial. So it's, you have that a lot with, you know, with all those. So, you know, Aaron is he's a unique guy to where he only had one Division I college scholarship when he first came out. And it shows that, I know he still carries the chip on his shoulder to this day between the college and not getting the first pick in the draft. But it shows his drive for perfection. And he's the most gifted athlete I've ever seen. The throws that he can make, I wish everybody could go watch him in person because the TV does not do it justice. You know, one time he did this Superman move on this guy. The guy had his wrapped up, and Aaron just comes out of it, not hurt or anything. The guy, he has a hole in his jersey from the guy holding it, and he threw it 60 yards down the field on one leg. And he's still doing it now because he's hurt. But I'm like, how do you throw the ball on one leg 60 yards in a perfect spiral when somebody's running at you? But goes to show the drive and the passion. And that's one thing that I think Arkansas needs. I think they need that drive. You know, I know Coach Morris and the staff they talk about it all the time, you hear it, but it's ultimately on the players. Until he gets his own guys, it's definitely on the players because these guys have to completely buy in. They have to want to play football. And if you want to have a career in the NFL, they have to show up. And I'm not saying they have to show up and win. They got to be competitive. They got to not loaf, not quit. But moving on from that, I got an Aaron Rodgers story for you. Does anybody want to hear it? Yes. Okay. I know it's going to be on the radio later, but I have to tell it. You know, we make pranks and we do jokes, and you know, the NFL is realistically, you work hard, but you're really 12-year-olds with money, a lot of money, and sometimes you get bored. So training camp, nobody wants to be. I mean, it's hard. Training camp's tough. It's a grind. You're there 14, 15 hours a day. You're not getting much sleep at night because you're on a little bitty dorm bed. Well, every year at the end of training camp, the last night, we have water balloon fights or flood people's rooms or do some of the things I can't talk about. But we got into this idea that we were going to go get Joe urine and put them in water balloons and throw them at people. We thought it was hilarious. Everybody that we hit, that their shirt started smelling, did not. So this went on for about 45 minutes. They all teamed up and got us locked in our room. We were roommates at the time. And they went outside with a fire extinguisher and shot it at the outside air conditioning unit and smoked us completely out of the room where we couldn't breathe. Our eyes were burning, and then after that we learned our lesson. We didn't put no urine in water balloons anymore. But, and that was to show what type of guy Aaron is. You know, he's a comedian. He loves to make practical jokes, but he's also about business. And when it's time, that's what you have to kind of associate with football. Is you have to enjoy it, you have to work hard, but you also have to find the fun in it, because even in those losing seasons, there's still some fun in it, because you have to be able to make yourself enjoy it so that you can enjoy going in and getting better and working, because you can always improve. Even right now, I've played 10 years, over 155 games. I have a very good record in the NFL, winning on a winning team, and I still know that I can get better. I still am working right now in case I do get that opportunity that I can get better. And I hear that all the time from people say, oh, we can get better. You have to believe it. You have to do it. I mean, I did so much on my own. You know, I tore my ACL in the first quarter of a football game. It was the last stadium I needed to go to in Oakland, because I had all 32 teams. I got all the stadiums. And I tore it in the first quarter. I knew my knee was hurt, but I didn't want to come out of the game. So I just took the Advil and I kept running on it. And I'd get down in my stance, my knee would waggle, and it was bad, it hurt, but I didn't want to lose my job to an injury. Ultimately, we get home, I couldn't sleep that night, went in and said, hey, my knee's messed up. And said, well, you popped your ACL. So that's great. So, you know, after that, I was a free agent. I had 2 more weeks of the season, had surgery, stayed up there till mid-March, trying to rehab, and they kick you out of the building when you become a free agent. You can no longer get in there. They take your passcode. If you're a free agent, you're gone. I mean, it's weird. But so I come home. I had to rehab all on my own, you know, and I'm trying to look up different things, how to do it. But I wanted to play again, so that's why I did it. And it's that drive, that passion, that growing up and playing football and doing the right things. You know, Houston Nutt used to say, do the right things when no one's looking. And it's such a great game. And obviously it's blessed me with things that I never would have thought I'd been able to do or see or go, you know, go to the White House and to take a picture with the president and get to see all that and do, you know, what's the odds that a guy from Fort Smith that can't make his 9th grade team can go do that? They're slim, but, you know, I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. I can keep talking, but I would love to open up for question and answer, because that's more fun for me. We kind of tell you stories of anything that you want to hear. And there is no question that I probably won't answer. So would anybody like to ask a question? No? Okay. Nothing? Okay, go ahead.
Have you ever had to play on the line? Did they ever ask you?
I was emergency, I played on the line in high school. I was a center in high school. I was emergency center for the Packers. And there was a couple of times we'd get into games, because, you know, there's only 46 people to dress. You know, so you got to be ready. I snapped all the 7-on-7 during practice to the quarterbacks. Every time that the center wasn't there, I was snapping to the quarterbacks. So, because there was just, they wanted to have a center snap. So, there was nothing that, you know, they were used to the way that I threw the ball. I knew how they liked it, but they didn't want me in the game. You know, I'm 260, but I'm not 310. So, it's a big difference of the weight there. I was glad I didn't go in, but I had it's funny, we had a trainer, and I always had to keep a mouthpiece, because I played without a mouthpiece, I just chewed gum, but I always had to have a mouthpiece, and if I go in at center, I need a mouthpiece. I'd sit there and get beat up. So, but no, I never had to go in. So luckily, that was nice. I didn't want to. See, Nam Sue over there, you're like, yeah, I'm okay. So, and that was fun. I mean, those guys, you know, the rules have changed. We can't hit the snapper now, but when I first started, those guys, it was literally you snap, grab grass, and try to hold on as long as you can. And I have video of my neck in so many different positions. It's, you know, it's amazing how much it's changed. It's for the better. I mean, they changed the rules. They had guys going out with neck injuries, which is kind of uncalled for. But there'd be, when I first started, I had 800-900 pounds laying on top of you, and you're kind of just there. And it all happens, you know, you want the kick in 1.3 seconds or under, so it's so quick you don't even realize it. Yes?
When you centered for the punt, what percentage of time would you make the tackle?
Well, snappers in general, in the NFL, the league average is 1.1 a year. So it's not a whole lot. You know, the biggest part for snappers is accuracy and being able to block. So you have to be able to put the ball on the money, and not, in that case, over his head. You got to put the ball on the money. So I aim for the right hip for right-footed punter, left hip for left-footed punter. And I know we snapped at 15 yards, and you don't want to pull the guy either way. So there's so much that can happen from a snap that's, you want under 0.8 of a second. You really like it at 0.75, and then you want the punt off in 2 to 2.1 second. Or, you know, I mean, it's not. So it all happens so quick. So if I move a punter over here, and my block spot's at 10 yards, he has to work back this way. So therefore, if we were trying to punt right, I moved him to his right. There's no way he can get back to a block spot and get the ball to the right. So there's different aspects of kind of what happens with, you know, the snapper can take the whole thing away. It's very important because you want the timing of the punter to be able to catch it, take his steps, and punt it. Now, with college rules, you know, everybody's doing the rollout, and it's a little bit different, but there's still a block spot that if the snap's off, you move him off that block spot, and then he may punt it in a different direction. And realistically, it may make the coverage look bad too. So there's a lot of different aspects that kind of go into that. You know, for field goal, it's 8 yards, and it's not a moving target, so neither's punt. So you get to repetition, just over and over and over, trying to figure out where that punter wants the ball. Yes?
What's your most memorable time at the Razorbacks and your most memorable time with the Green Bay Packers?
The Razorbacks, the most memorable time is, I really enjoyed College Game Day when we beat Tennessee. That was a great game. You know, I always remember running out of the A, and I remember a lot of other games, but that was one that kind of sticks with me, is that, you know, because it was College Game Day, you know, you're real big into that, and they came here and we wore Tennessee out. That was a lot of fun. Obviously, winning the Super Bowl was one of the Packers. It was great that it was in Dallas. I got to bring 16 people that were from Fort Smith over, so it was awesome that all of them could come. Because, you know, Green Bay's, it's hard for everybody to go to an NFL game when everybody has jobs. And, you know, you might play on Sunday night, and Green Bay's like Fort Smith. You don't have a whole lot of planes leaving. And if it snows and blizzards, you know, I remember my first year there, it was the only year I stayed there year round. I was done. We had 40 days to get above zero. And I'm trying to push a shopping cart because I was single, and I said, I'm buying a house back in Arkansas, so that moved back, and their winters are real brutal. So, but that would be the best game that I think, just because it was, you know, against the Steelers in Dallas. I grew up a Dallas fan, so it was very memorable to do that.
Has it always been a goal of yours to play in the NFL? Or how did you stumble upon
Well,
it?
every kid's dream to play football is to play in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize the NFL was even I didn't realize college was a possibility until I started getting recruited. I didn't know there was even a possibility of me ever playing in the NFL until after my last game of college. The bowl game of which I played, Houston called me in the next week and said I was going to the Senior Bowl. Of course, I knew the Senior Bowl. I was like, wow. He said they're bringing snappers in. It's like, you know, it was 1 or 2 guys who go to the Senior Bowl. And so at that moment, that's when I realized that I may have a shot. And then you walk out, you walk out with your shirt off, you know, no socks, no shoes, and just your girl in front of 400 scouts. And they're looking at you like a piece of meat. They're going, hey guys. So it's, you want to dream it, you want to act like it's a realistic dream, but you don't know it. And that's one thing that I'm proud of myself for keeping going, because you push yourself and then you get that opportunity and it comes out.
So what was like your driving force to push you towards that?
I wanted to be perfect. You know, I didn't want to screw up, and I did have the one unfortunate, and I'm not kidding, I still think about that. It bothers me because it's like, out of like almost 300 snaps, I had a bad one. And you don't want, you know, that still bothers me because I'm like, why did I let myself do that? And it doesn't happen, you know, it's just awkward that it happens. But that's just what it is. It's just that I want it to be perfect. I still want to be perfect. You know, I have a drive to, if I'm going to do something and put my name on it, I want to be able to do my best. Because I can live with mistakes if I'm doing my best. I can't live with a mistake if I knew I took something off.
When you shook Aaron Rodgers' hand, did you get a roughing the passer?
No, that rule wasn't put in.
He did the question.
He said when I shook Aaron Rodgers' hand, did I get a roughing the passer penalty? Now, luckily I haven't played with that new rule, so I think it's a terrible rule. But I get why they're trying to protect quarterbacks, but it's too much. I don't even know what to say with some of those hits. You know, I get it. You know, because statistically, everybody wants to watch Aaron play. They don't want to watch a backup. Nothing against a backup quarterback, because I mean, look what Fitzpatrick's doing. For 15 years, you can make a lot of money being a backup quarterback. But people pay to go watch Aaron Rodgers, and they want to keep those guys in the game. So. Anybody? Yes.
Do you have any good Houston Nutt stories?
Oh man, I love Houston. You know, I think he's a great coach. I think he was a very good recruiter, and I think one of his best qualities was a motivator. I think he could get every single game, even during the losing season. He always thought, you know, you could feel it come out that you had a chance to win. And when it's coming from your head coach, it kind of trickles down. You know, it goes to, like I said earlier, the leaders of the team, the seniors. You know, the guys, it just trickles down and gives that good, you know, that good mojo going through the building. And you know, we could always tell in the pros when every coach was nervous. You know, and then you're kind of like, wait a minute, is this guy really, this team that good? You know, if you're nervous, then it kind of goes off on you. But that's one thing that I love about Houston, and it's just him motivating. You know, my senior year was going to Auburn and winning. And, you know, my first year, we're going to Texas and win. I mean, nobody in the country picked us, and we legitimately thought we had a chance. We didn't think it was an upset. And that was one thing that I thought he did very well. Yes?
When you went on the road, both college and pro, what are your favorite, let's say, stadiums or atmospheres, on good or bad, on the road, I mean, in college and pro?
I hated going to Mississippi State. It always felt like there was ants in the locker room, it was cold, showers. The cowbells were definitely annoying. LSU was annoying. It was loud, it's a great stadium, but it's annoying, you know, when you go up there. And I know that my brother, and they tried to flip him in the porta potty when he went to LSU. So, but there's things that they learned as they went to every game that I played in except one. And they learned a lot of tricks along the way. But I'd probably say Mississippi State I didn't like the most, just because it felt like that. And you know, in the pros, it'd be Chicago. They did the same thing. If we won, they would turn off the hot water. Which we won a lot, so we got a lot of cold shower after the game, and that's nothing worse than playing in a 0-degree game than having a cold shower. But you know, that's one thing about college that the NFL lacks is the student section. I think that brings such a great atmosphere to college that the NFL won't get, obviously, because there's no students. But there's good in both, you know, to pro stadiums and college stadiums. Luckily, we went to a lot of really cool stadiums, and you know, and getting to go to. I missed the only stadium I didn't do in SEC was Tennessee. That's the only one I didn't get to attend. And then I hit all the NFL teams, which was a kind of a cool goal. Yes.
In the game Saturday, we had one punt blocked and one that should have been blocked. What, in your experience from watching it, what went wrong?
Well, it should have been blocked. You know, it goes on a lot of different things. Hand of foot time for the punter. The guys that are blocking doing their job. You know, I don't. So with the spread punt, they have so many different ways that they do it. They either do like the run, you know, they kind of run with it, or the guys have certain ones they block. Obviously, they didn't hit their blocks, and that's on coaching and the players. You know, players not buying into special teams, like, oh yeah, it's just punt, here we go. You know, that's what players think, and because a lot of people don't like special teams. They don't. They just think it's just bad, and you know, they think it's like scouting. You know, and so for those guys, when you roll out to the right, you know, they've got to all be in sync. It's got to all be one motion, and I think that that's the problem is that it just takes one guy, you know, to screw up, and it ruins it for everybody. And that's the hard part about special teams is you get one play, and everybody has to do it right, or it's, you know, it's hard to overcome it.
So you didn't think it was a snapper or punter problem as much as a failure to block?
I think it was a combination of everything. You know, the punter's got to see certain scenarios of, you know, scenarios of games when guys are coming, they're coming to block it, and you should speed up. So that's one thing the punter can do better. You know, the snappers got to put it on the money, whether they're doing a rollout or whatever they're doing, and then the guy's got to block. I mean, you know, and so it's a combination of all three. We always said that if it was a punt rush, you better get the ball off as quick as you can. You know, it's almost like you don't even care, especially in college, because everybody can release. You know, you can get downfield. So if it's a rush, you just want to get the ball in the air going, and you're going to have room to cover because those guys are going to be back in the line of scrimmage too. So you're going to have some space out there to make an open field tackle. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
You have a lot of communication before or plays. Do you have any humorous comments that your opponents
From
to you?
opponents?
Yeah.
Brian Urlacher, he was telling me my first year, him and Charles Tillman were trying to get me screwed up on a field goal to win the game, and they were just standing on the top of his back when you could line up other snapper, and they said a bunch of stuff that I can't say, but they were just trying to, you know, just joking with you and jawing with you, and then, you know, there's guys that, I hear it all the time when I was up in Green Bay, is that y'all wouldn't be anything without Aaron Rodgers, which is true. I mean, it's hard when you take a franchise quarterback like that. And they just, they don't like him when he's playing against them. So there was a lot of things that you can say, and that, you know, there's a lot of people that joked. I know that I talked to everybody before and after the game, the specialists, and you kind of get to know them, especially the guys in your division, and you know, you care for them, you hope they do well, but you just hope like maybe you block the kick, not that they miss it, you know, or you block the punt, not that they hit a bad one. So there's little things like that, but there's nothing. You know, I think the quarterbacks and the linebackers jaw a lot more. You know, the linemen definitely, with the defensive linemen, they get into it quite a bit. I tried to stay out of it. I didn't want people just getting a free shot at my head, so I kind of kept my mouth shut. Anybody else?
Cold weather games. How cold? What was it like in Green Bay?
Cold weather games. How cold? Well, luckily, we played a game against the 49ers in the playoffs. They thought it was going to be real temperature, minus 30. Luckily, it wasn't. It came the next day. They shut down planes. Nobody could fly out. I played in a lot of games where the wind chill was below 0. And the worst part about that is you're touching a brand new football that they had 25 minutes to wipe down. And so it's slick as all get out. It's hard as a rock because they won't let you put the balls next to the heaters to warm them up. And
Deflate them either.
they won't let you deflate them anymore. Well, they changed that now. They actually have officials do that now. But no, they take, you know, special teams balls. So offense and defense, they get to pick their footballs. The quarterbacks get their balls on Wednesday, the week of the game. Special teams, because they don't want tampering with it, we get our balls 25 minutes before the game. They get to kind of wipe them down a little bit. And so they're brand new. You don't know what they look like till you go out there. And that's probably one of the worst things in a cold weather game, because you don't know what kind of feel you're going to get on the ball. And so the worst part about cold games was after the game. I would shake for like 4 hours because you're still cold. You can't get over it because you're standing out there for so long. You know, I didn't wear, we had these things called dickies, and it like went to here and kind of covered up to your neck, and then I put Vaseline on the open skin, and so it wouldn't be as cold. But and I'd wear a jacket on the sideline, but you can't get uncold that quick. You take a hot shower, you're still shaking. You know, we'd have guys that go into, they go get in the hot tub when we're at home. But if you play a road game like Chicago, you don't get a hot shower and then you're really cold. It's very hard to play in cold. You have to be focused on your details. Everything changes. The ball for kickers, punters, doesn't fly as fast, as far. Everything kind of takes out. I say the coldest game I ever played in was against Minnesota. It wasn't even like temperature-wise cold. It was 33 degrees. It was raining. We had sitting in the rain and we tied because we went to overtime. It was the most miserable game ever. So out there for 5 hours and then you're just freezing. So that's one thing that a lot of people like. you know, Detroit would come out there and they'd have their shirts off, and they'd be out there running around, oh, it's not cold, and we'd beat them by 40. I mean, you got to be smart with the cold, but it definitely, I'm glad that Minnesota is back inside, and I'm glad they had 2 years there outside. Luckily, they would have broke the record for the coldest game in the NFL, but they just kind of had 2 good years there where it's warm. So, anybody else? Yes?
You mentioned a tie. Do you think they'll always get rid of ties?
I know every player hates it. I get why they do it kind of for health, you know, but they need to find out a way to do without ties. We got into the playoffs, we were 7-8-1 that year, we tied them. It's unfortunate that you don't have them because you don't know what feeling to do. You play the game to win. You know, it's a old saying, you don't know if you won or lost. It's the weirdest feeling that still today, I'm like, do I celebrate? Do I go home, you know, do I celebrate or do I feel depressed? And that's the feeling. And then you have to live with that all weeks. And the building, the move around the building is the same way. You don't know if it's like, what just happened? And so I think they need to get rid of it. I would love for them to get rid of it, find a way. I do like the NFL system, and I like the college system. I think they're both good for both parts of the game, but they need to find a way to do something. Yes, sir?
Did you play with glasses?
Well, no, I actually didn't even need glasses until we switched to iPads for watching film, and my left eye got bad. My right eye is actually good, and I didn't play with contacts, and I kind of, if I have problems seeing, I just kind of close my left eye when I'm looking underneath my legs. So I don't want to wear contacts, so I do it so I can see. But it's not terrible. I don't have terrible vision. It's just my left eye is kind of messed up. But it definitely it was weird because I had 20/20 vision in my left eye. We went to watching film on the iPad. Next year, I was like, I can't see out of my left eye. And they said a lot of that was probably just, you know, I was naturally going to lose some of my vision, but a lot of it staring at that screen too. You know, you got to watch. In the NFL, it's a job. You know, you take away class and you do it with a job. And you got to watch hours and hours and hours of footage of film, and you know, you're critiquing yourself and you're looking at other players. And you know, there was times I'd walk up the line of scrimmage and I'd know what stunt they were fixing to run because you know everybody has a tendency, and so you study that and study that and study that. And so that's one thing I don't miss right now is watching film or readings. It gets kind of boring, but that's no, I definitely don't wear glasses. But there are a couple of guys that wear glasses, but a lot of guys most of them wear contacts. Yes?
What are you doing now?
I am playing golf. Trying not to make my wife hate me for being a stay-at-home dad because she tells me to leave. She goes, we weren't both meant to be staying home. I'm looking for a job. I've been trying to figure out what I want to do. I know that I want to do something. I want to get out of the house. I don't know what it is yet. Nothing's come across me, but I haven't. Luckily, I was not married the early part of my career because I don't think I would save as much money as I did. I was able to save enough to where I don't really have to go back to work for a while, which is nice, so there's not a pressure on me. I'm ready to. But right now I get all the retired men in 40 minutes group text of what time the tea time is. So it's been kind of fun. Yes?
Any interest in coaching?
There is interest in coaching, yeah. I don't know what level yet, but obviously I'd rather do college or professional. Nothing against high school because I think they do such a tremendous job of getting everybody ready, and they play just as much of a role as anybody, if not more than high school or college and pros. The pro coaches, nothing against them, but by the time that somebody gets to the pros, they pretty much know what they're doing. And so that's started in junior high and high school. So I have an interest in that. 100% would love to have the opportunity to one day. I don't know if that'll come across, but we'll see.
Might be a position at Arkansas, special teams.
I would definitely look at the offer for sure. If that comes across me.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I would probably take it. Yeah.
Your prediction for the score this weekend?
Oh man, I don't like to do score predictions. I'm really bad at them, but one thing that I want to see out of this weekend is I want to see our guys not making the mental errors. And that's one thing that's frustrating me is seeing all the mental errors that go on, because those are unexcusable. You know, pre-snap penalties are unexcusable. The combative penalties, yeah, they're going to happen if you're playing hard. You're going to get a holding. You're going to, you know, but the pre-snap and the personal, you know, the mental errors it kills you. And it would be nice if we could not have the team we're playing start most of their drives inside our own 50. So I don't know what the score will be. Hopefully, I really hope that we can kind of pull it together. And you'll be surprised if you get rid of those mental errors and you get rid of, you know, the pre-snap penalties. We'll look a lot better. It'll be a night-and-day difference, and that'll help us. But we have to get rid of it, and you kind of have to prove it. You know, we haven't really shown that yet, and that's been frustrating watching as a fan. That these are things that are fixable now. You know, this has nothing to do with the player or the coach. It's on all of them. Yes.
You mentioned retirement, savings, and all that. Isn't NFL retirement? Isn't it for life? And I know you had 10 years. I know you invested in it. Isn't that for life?
I can't touch it until I'm 55.
Oh,
yeah. The 401k annuity is just like everybody else's annuity. And so the only thing that I could get, they started after the lockout. They did they paid the taxes on a little bit of money out of the annuity that if you get in a bind, you can take it out of that and pay taxes, but everything else is 55, and the longer you wait, the more money, you know, if you wait till 65, you make more money. Yes?
Tell us about the famous picture of you and Casey and Clark standing on.
That's a great photo, wasn't it?
Is that planned?
We were standing together, but we weren't standing in that order. And then somebody behind us had moved, and then we figured it out. So it's like, okay, we'll move to the picture, and then it was like, oh wow, this just happened. So that photo is, I went to try out for the Jets last year. My daughter was born. 2 hours later, I got on a plane with the Jets to work out for them, and the trainer comes up and goes, "Are you from that famous Arkansas picture?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." I'm like, how's it get all the way up here? So it's been everywhere.
Are you done playing?
If I don't get a call, yeah. You know, I pretty much left everything out there. I don't have any regrets. You know, I've come off 2 injuries and been able to play again. I obviously would love to win another Super Bowl, been to 3 NFC championship games, and you know, should have been more, but it just doesn't happen. It would take a right team. If somebody calls me, I don't want to go to, you know, I may not get a call to December. And if that team's losing and it's cold weather, I might say, yeah, I'm good. You know, I'm cold enough. So personally, I know I can still play, but there's not a whole lot that I can do right now. It's just if somebody gets hurt, which, you know, the average is 5 to 7 a year. There's been 1 already this year. So it just kind of is up in the air. If I find a job, then I'm done. I know that.
Maybe wrap it up by telling the story about the 14-hour road trip to Arkansas with Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, yeah. So last story. So Aaron, you know, we got good buddies with him. Said, "Hey, you want to go to Arkansas?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go with you." Okay. So we drive. I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay." "What time you leave?" I said, 3. He goes, "Okay, I'll be ready." So I went to pick him up at his house at 3 a.m. He's playing video games. He's got his bag sitting right there. I said, "Did you get any sleep?" He goes, "No." I said, "So does that mean I'm driving the whole way?" He goes, "Yeah." So we get in the car, we leave Green Bay, he falls asleep. I'm like, this is great. We wake up in Bloomington, Illinois. He goes, "I'm hungry, let's go to Cracker Barrel." So we go to the Cracker Barrel, and again, there was just somebody said, "Yeah, it looks like Aaron Rodgers, but why would he be here?" And then this other guy comes in and goes, "You idiot, that is Aaron Rodgers." And it ended up being the superintendent of the school for there, and they ended up buying our breakfast. So, you know, we made this long trek down from Green Bay down. It's 940 miles. It's a miserable drive. But, you know, we came into town, and I said the thing about the casino, but we went around town, and everybody, this is the greatest thing that every athlete hates, but every athlete gets, is I thought you'd be bigger. And so there was a guy at a bar in Fort Smith we were sitting at, and eating lunch, and this guy comes in, he knows me because I'm from Fort Smith, and he starts talking to me about how he'd been to a Green Bay game, how cold he was, and at that time Aaron gets up and walks to the restaurant and looks at me and goes, "Is that Aaron?" I said, "Yeah, you just made yourself look like an idiot." But it's been a blessing to be able to know those guys and do stuff like that, and obviously it all started at Arkansas. I appreciate the opportunity to come speak. Hopefully I gave you a little insight of kind of special teams and kind of all working together, and maybe I can do it again sometime. Thank you.